Hi everyone. So, what do you think of the new setup? I mean, eventually I would like my setup to be flipped so that my bookshelf is behind me so you can actually see my book collection. But, for now, I feel like having animals in your background is always popular. So, there's Voldy. Hi, Voldy. If you could just see the death glare he is giving me right now. He looks like really cute, but staring at him head on, he is totally staring me down. Yeah, so as I mentioned in my previous video, my roommate moved out, or one of my roommates moved out. So we moved into her old room since she had the biggest room. We were originally in the smallest room, so it was quite cramped in there, but now we have a little bit more space than we did previously. But anyway, that is not why I'm here today. I'm here to talk about my West poems by Jennifer Fox. So, before we begin with this review or my thoughts on this poetry collection, I do want to say that I am by no means like a poetry expert. I mean, I was taught how to analyze poetry using the TPCast system. Who else remembers the TPCast system? But I was not about to do that. Like now I'm reading poetry for fun. So yeah, but poetry is not something that I usually gravitate to. I just prefer, I think poetry is beautiful, but I prefer reading like novels. But if what I really love about the subways is that a lot of time they have poetry, like little poems on like displayed there. So I do like reading those, but otherwise I don't really analyze poetry. I don't usually read poetry. So yeah, and poetry analysis was probably the thing that we studied the least in all of my English classes growing up. So just wanted to give that disclaimer because I know that there's like probably some like poetry snobs out there that are like, what are you even doing? That's not how you analyze poetry. No. But I am here to just talk about the poetry collection and how I enjoyed it as someone who is not by any means like a poetry connoisseur. So, anyway, so My West by Jennifer Fox is a collection of about 30 poems. And so Jennifer Fox currently lives in Taos, New Mexico. Now, I am not from Taos. I've never been to Taos, New Mexico, but I am from that southwest region. So there were a lot of things that she was talking about that even though I may not have seen personally, I still get a sense and a feeling for what she's talking about because I am from that region and there's something else that I can relate to, that even if it's not the exact thing that she's talking about. But so we get beautiful glimpses of the southwest New Mexico region, beautifully written about, and it's really interesting how it takes this turn as you progress through the first parts are really like focusing on the beauty of New Mexico and different parts of the country, and then as the collection continues, it ends with a lot of poems about heartbreak, and I'm assuming it's her own personal heartbreak that she experienced with her partner. And it's just really interesting how it flowed from like this beautiful landscape to tying it into the grief that she feels over this loss of her relationship. And yeah, I just thought I really liked how she found a way to like tie it in. Definitely did not feel abrupt. Like we were talking about like certain regions for a while, and all of a sudden we're like talking about heartbreak. What happened? Like she does find a way to like smoothly transition into a completely different subject than she did at the start. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this poetry collection. Like I said, it's a very short poetry collection, but I really liked it. Finished it in one sitting. It's not hard to do, But yeah, I read it on the train and I reread some of the other ones. I reread them again since I had time. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. And as someone who doesn't usually pick up poetry collections, I think that's the nice thing about like good poetry, is that you can appreciate it even if you're not necessarily like a huge fan of it. But so I liked it. If you enjoy poetry, I think you might like it too. I might be wrong. But so I did want to read two of her poems. I'm going to start off by reading La Jicarita, or La Jicarita Mountain, followed by Fishing the Rio del Pueblo, which won first and second place respectively in the 2020 Southwestern Poets Society. And I really did like the visual aspects of these poems. So I'm going to start off with La Jicarita Mountain. Little bull, wrought upon the slow wheel of time, you shaped the Pecos wilderness, a once full cup. You poured into the valley and gave rise to corn, melons, beans, feathers, skins, the sustenance of survival for generations of Achuleta, Martinez, Medina, and Picuris, who lived beneath you, pinched mica pots for chicharrones roasted above an open fire, history now crumbling and pockmarked. Now half full, upside down, emptying, your timbers lost to the railroads, your water clogged and diverted. La Jicarita, it will take many lifetimes to refill you. How long does mountain wait? And this is Fishing the Rio del Pueblo. Summer folds in half, and I roll around in the crease like some wild berries still ripe but off the vine. I find my way to the water's edge, where I become reed-thin, stripped of all pretenses, the only way to receive what I desire. I pause, wet foot steadied beneath chalk-dry branch never noticed by human eye before mine. A black fly lands on my finger. I don't flick it away. The art of anything begins with reverence. The forest rustles as I struggle with the filament-thin, translucent as angel hair, while the size 16 elk-hair caddis eye-hole waits sturdy and open, and for the third time, stubborn refusal. Everything now depends on exactitude, laser focus, absolute reduction, the one true test of the day. Exquisite belief in the smallest fet, like the day I added and subtracted, then walked away. How difficult these seemingly simple decisions to go or stay. Patience is the only way in, even as the wind steals the gossamer line from my fingers and tosses it to the mouth of a hungry breeze. Devil's feast returns bones, a tangled snarl, penance for a life of haste. The mountains loom like judges. She'll give up. They'll turn a shade of lavender. I accept the conditions of success, and where others quit, I stay with the catechism of the knots. Finally, the sweet Timothy lifts its fragrance, the nuthatch harmonizes with the stream's riffle, the line cooperates, eases through the knot, the fly agrees, the river expands and lets me in. All streaks and flashes now, unison is nature's way. Then tug, rod up, hook set, rainbow glistens as it turns toward the sky. There you go, now take your prize, the fish, the one that waited for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed this poetry collection, and I wanted to bring it to this channel because I've never really talked about poetry before, except for like the last time I talked about poetry, I think was as an undergrad when I had to write a paper analyzing a collection of poetry, and that was it. I haven't talked about poetry since. So I wanted to challenge myself, and since I read it and I did enjoy this poetry collection, I wanted to bring it to you. So let me know what you thought of the two poems I read, and let me know what your favorite poetry collections are, and I'll see if I check them out. All right, see you next time.